Hi everyone, what's up? Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Asselin if you're new here, and I'm a lifestyle content creator here on YouTube. I'm also the host of In Bloom podcast, available anywhere you listen to your podcasts. And I don't typically do New Year's style videos. I feel like I did a lot in the past when I was in college, but ever since starting my full-time job, obviously it takes some time to plan these out, sit down and film them, and all that jazz. But I really wanted to do one this year just because I felt like I had some pretty positive lifestyle changes in the past year in 2022. So I really wanted to take a holistic look at my life and really just try to think about what lifestyle changes I want to implement in 2023. So I'm gonna be sharing those with you all today. But before we get started, please subscribe down below. And I post lifestyle vlogs, work week in my life videos. I'm a Big Four tax accountant, so I vlog my lifestyle with that. A few sit down videos here and there, some makeup, get ready with me type of things. I'm also new on TikTok. I just did Vlogmas on my Instagram reels and on TikTok, and it was so much fun. But I've been enjoying doing that. So definitely follow me everywhere and check out my podcast if you enjoy this content and want more of it. I definitely have more New Year style content on my podcast. That's also why I don't typically do these types of videos on my channel, just because I feel like this is good podcast content, but I really wanted to do a more visual form of it as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the 10 lifestyle changes I'm making in 2023. So the very first lifestyle change I'm making and kind of trying to maintain in 2023, because it's definitely something that I feel like I've tried to avoid, but it definitely creeps its way into my life, and that is avoiding lifestyle inflation. So if you haven't heard of that term, it basically just means when you make more money, you kind of just up your lifestyle and up the things you do to the next level. I feel like with the presence of social media, it's a lot easier to get caught up in lifestyle inflation. I feel like with starting a new job and coming out of college, it's really easy to want to say yes to go on all of these different trips with friends, and you consume content and you see all of these things. You want to have the nicest apartment, you want to have the nicest car, or you feel pressured to do so, maybe you don't want to. I feel like the areas I noticed where I got caught up in lifestyle inflation was more so with eating out at nicer restaurants, and then sort of self-care type of things, as well as vacations. Those are the three, or trips I guess I should say, the three things that I felt like I really felt the lifestyle inflation really caught up to me. It's just a lot easier to adopt these expensive habits on accident once you're making adult money and have more money to spend. I do feel like this past year, especially with moving to a big city and having so much at my fingertips, there were definitely a few times, especially during the summer, I noticed where we had a little bit more free time and we would go out to eat at nice restaurants probably twice a month, and that's just ends up adding up a lot. And I think that this is something that's totally fine to do every now and then, but it's not something that I want to be doing monthly. In the category of self-maintenance, I get my eyebrows threaded and I get my hair done every 6 months. So my hair is not really a big deal because I just get a gloss and a cut, so it's not that expensive. I get my nails done every month, and I have a massage membership to a place that is $60 a month, and I kind of got that for myself when I started my full-time job because I knew I would need it I told myself I would need it with working at a desk job. And it's only $60 a month for an hour massage, which is not bad at all because the prices aren't that way anymore. But I am canceling it because I want to save that $60 now, and that is something that I am also able to expense through work, but I can't expense all of this unlimited amounts. It's up to a certain amount. I took a look at all of my maintenance things, so my nails, my waxes, my threading, and the massages, and I was like, what things out of these four do I feel like I want to keep doing, and which things do I think I can cut? So I'm gonna be cutting out the massages and cutting out the waxes, and that'll save me a lot each month. And I think that it's something that I was like, oh, I am making this adult money so I can treat myself on these things. And I don't regret spending the money on those things at all, because I think the massages were definitely really helpful throughout the year, but I didn't even go every month. But the credits do accumulate, so it's fine that I didn't go every month. I'm just gonna prioritize getting my nails done, because I will pick at my fingers until they bleed if I don't have my nails done. And I know it's probably a sorry excuse, but I just need to have them done. And also I just feel a lot better about myself when they're done. And then eyebrow threading, which is not very expensive at all. I'd rather keep the two cheaper options. And since the massages and Brazilian waxes are more expensive, I'm just gonna do away with those this year. So those are the areas where I am cutting out some things that I felt like I did because I bought into lifestyle inflation. Next thing is having an intuitive fitness routine, and this is more so of a maintenance thing for me because I feel like this is something that I adopted in 2022 that worked extremely well for me, and it's something I want to continue in 2023. So I am including it in this video because it's been so life-changing for me, even though it's not necessarily new to me for 2023. The goal here is to have a loose structure and routine with your workout schedule that appeals to you so that you can fall back on it in case you lose motivation or you kind of get in a rut. So for me, my loose structure fitness routine, ideal fitness routine, if you will, typically looks like one day of active rest. So this could be walking, doing yoga, or just stretching at home, something like that. Day of full rest where I'm just not really moving my body, stretching, sure, if I want to, but just completely giving my body a break. And then 4 to 5 days of moving my body and actually getting workouts in, whether that's a spin class or strength training, F45, Pilates, whatever it may be on those other 4 or 5 days. And I'd like to sort of start syncing with my cycle more. I know that's like a big thing recently. We are just now finding out about this as women when we should have known about this when we first learned what periods are, in my opinion, but I want to start doing that. But the key here is that it's all intuitive. So I have that loose structure, so I know in the back of my mind when I'm losing motivation or if I'm in a rut, I can fall back on that schedule and I'm like, okay, well, where am I at right now? What have I done this week? What do I feel like doing? It's a lot easier to be consistent and stick to something if you have a loose structure, not something that's so strict, but just something that is sort of a guidebook for you. And this basically just means doing the workouts that I feel like doing. And this was the first year I've ever done this. I was really into like weight training, but I stuck with it a lot longer than I felt like doing it. I was really into it when I first started for about 1.5 years. And then the last 1.5 years that I was like weight training in the gym, I was really burnt out of it. I never felt good doing it. And I felt like I was forcing myself to go and I never felt excited to do it. And it felt like something that I was having to force myself to show up to. What intuitive movement looks like to me is the things that I get excited to go to, that I'm wanting to like book and I'm wanting to add to my day and looking forward to going to. Maybe I'm not looking forward to going to it all the time because maybe I'm feeling a little bit tired after work, but ultimately I love the way I feel when I'm doing it and afterwards, and I'm chasing that high and that feeling. Before we moved, I lived close to a spin studio and I went to that spin studio all the time, and that's what I was really into. I was in my spin era and I was very intuitive, and I was shocked because I never thought I could be someone that could go to spin multiple times a week. But instead of telling myself and limiting myself and saying I'm someone that can only do like 1 spin class a week, I was like, I feel like doing 3 a week. And I did that for a long time. And then I started adding Pilates in because that's just like something I wanted to try out and start doing, and I liked it. Now that I'm farther from my spin studio and the Pilates place I went to, we moved, and I go to F45 now, and I'm actually obsessed with it. I love it so much. It's the only workout class that I've been able to attend like 5 days a week and not be dreading it, because there's so much variety in it and it changes every day, and that's what I need. And that's the era I'm in right now. And when I decide that I don't really feel like doing F45 anymore, then I'll switch to something else. And you may think like, how are you managing, you know, doing all these different workouts, because that's expensive at different studios? Totally get it. I would never have unlimited memberships to multiple studios at once. Gym pass through my job, which allows me basically to buy a plan that I want to buy. And through my plan, I get unlimited access. I can only go once a day, but when would I ever go more than once a day? Let's be honest. Once a day to basically anywhere that's in my plan, and it includes places like all the Pilates places for the most part, Soul Cycle, Barry's, F45, Orange Theory, a lot of places like that, and some yoga studios. So it's super inclusive, and the fact that I can go unlimited to these places that are typically very expensive is so great. But what I will recommend, if you don't have gym pass through your job, definitely look into class pass. It's basically the exact same thing, but for individuals and not through a corporate job. I think ClassPass is such a great option because it gives you that ability to be flexible and be intuitive. So maybe one day you want to go to Barry's boot camp, maybe the next day you want to go to a spin class, and maybe you want to go to yoga. Maybe you're going to have a Pilates era, and then you're going to have an F45 era, and ClassPass allows you to really be flexible with that. And I feel like being intuitive with your workouts is so much more effective when it comes to being consistent and actually enjoying what you're doing, instead of forcing yourself to do something because you feel like you have to do it or you should do it when you don't really care to do it at all. And ClassPass just really allows you to experiment and see what you like. And I think that that's all part of the whole intuitive fitness routine, is experimenting and finding what you like. And that may look different in different seasons of life. Next thing is waiting until I break down to take care of myself. So I'm someone who tends to have a rapid descent when they're stressed or anxious or when they're not doing well. It's like this snowball effect, and everything just keeps getting worse and worse, and then I just like crash and burn, fall off a cliff at the end of it. And I typically wait until it's too late and I'm having a mental breakdown to take a second and step away for a minute and just breathe, like take a walk, remove myself from any situation, and, you know, assess myself and take care of myself. And I want to stop waiting until that point of I am completely breaking down and I can't do this. I want to consistently take care of myself and do it when I'm feeling good, do it when I'm feeling kind of good, do it when I'm feeling bad, and also do it when I'm feeling really bad, instead of waiting until I feel really bad to take care of myself. And what this may look like is practicing breath work. So I don't really do anything fancy, but I really try when I'm feeling really anxious. This happens a lot when I'm working. I will feel like I can't really catch my breath, and I'll just force myself to like stand up and step away from whatever I'm doing. And I will just force myself to take like 8 to 10 really deep like belly breaths, and it really just slows my heart rate down and gets me breathing. That's one active way that I like take care of my anxiety. And I also learned in therapy, I also tend to tense my jaw a lot when I get really stressed, and I will tense my hands and like my neck and my back. And I learned in therapy that you can like tense yourself really hard and hold it for a few seconds and then completely let go, to like remind yourself of like, okay, this is what it feels like to completely untense myself. So a lot of times if like my jaw feels really tense, I'll force myself to like scrunch my face up really tight for like 10 seconds, and then I let it go, and it kind of reminds me, okay, I can like relax this muscle. That's a thing. I don't know what the psychological term for that is, but it's a thing. Or this may look like journaling out my feelings, or asking my fiance if he has the emotional capacity to listen to me vent, or maybe it's scheduling an extra therapy appointment, and just going ahead and being proactive about taking care of myself instead of waiting until that last minute. The next thing is being okay with where I'm at. And this is something I really struggle with because I tend to be someone who's always focused on the next thing. I feel like primary school and college kind of forces you to always be thinking about what's next, and it can cause you to sort of live in the future too much or dwell on the past too much, and you lose a lot of your present moment. I think being okay with where I'm at is all about accepting, you know, where you are right now, and doing the same for other people, accepting other people in your life for where they're at instead of where you want them to be or where you think they should be. It really removes myself from the pressure that I create, this false pressure that really shouldn't be there, to have or do or be a certain thing by a certain time, because anytime I put that pressure on myself, I end up being in a really anxious state of thinking, and I'm not really able to enjoy my present moment because I keep thinking about this expectation that I put in my life that doesn't really need to be there, and dwelling on that instead of focusing on where I'm at right now. And really, this just makes you more aware of opportunities that present themselves in the present moment, because when you're too forward thinking or dwelling on the past, you really miss out on the opportunities that come your way in the present moment. I don't know about you guys, but I always want to be aware of what the present moment has to offer and not miss out on that, because I think that there are so many opportunities I've probably missed out on just from dwelling on the future so much and worrying about the next thing, and not really accepting myself for where I'm at and allowing myself to just be. Next is focusing on how I want to feel rather than what I want to achieve. So I struggle a lot this time of year because I feel like I need to completely revamp my life and, you know, just have all these extravagant goals. And I made a TikTok recently talking about the power of having a word of the year. And this past year, for 2022, my word of the year was heal. And for 2023, my word is align. And I talked about how having a word of the year was really grounding and gave me something to keep in the back of my mind for each decision I made. And it was a lot easier for me to actually accomplish my goals that I had for myself in the year with having that word instead of having all of these lengthy specific goals and being really unrealistic by setting these crazy expectations for myself for what to achieve in the year. And it's almost end up achieving those same things by just having a word of the year, because if you only have that one word to focus on and you truly commit yourself to making decisions that align with what that word is, you will notice that all those decisions that you're making that align with like the word heal, for example, or align with the word align, are decisions that sort of get you to where you want to be without having all of these really intense and intimidating expectations and goals that you tend to set for yourself at the beginning of the year. And focusing on achievements is good and healthy when the things you want to achieve are in alignment with yourself and your values. I'm somebody who has always prioritized achievements for the wrong reasons, for people-pleasing reasons, and because it was a distraction from dealing with difficult emotions. So focusing on achievements as a distraction from dealing with those emotions in an effort to people please or to chase after a certain status will ultimately always leave me feeling unfulfilled at the end of the day. So I'm really trying to just remove that desire to achieve things from my life and really just focus on how I want to feel and saying yes to those things that make me feel that way or will make me feel that way. And keeping the way I want to feel in mind is much more productive for my decision making, since it helps me prioritize myself and my well-being first. And I feel like feelings that I like to focus on and feel that I'm really wanting to prioritize are things like peace and alignment, true joy, passion, having like a zest for life, curiosity. And then when I can identify the things I don't want to feel, like tension, hostility, or aggressiveness, and I can identify those, I can really just focus on using my intuition to say yes to things that lead me to feeling those things. Next is exploring my hobbies and embracing creativity. This one's so hard for me because I'm somebody who's always sort of enjoyed productive hobbies. Like my YouTube channel, for example, started out as a hobby and very quickly turned into something that ended up being monetized and is now a job for me. And a lot of times that's just what happens, and a lot of my hobbies tend to be productive, but I really want to explore more, restful hobbies and things that aren't tied to, creating an income or being productive. So that could look like gardening, that could look like trying out new recipes, trying out a pottery class, all kinds of different things. But I talked about in my podcast how I feel like STEM things, if you're like the slightest good at science, math, whatever, and even if you're not good at it, it's just shoved down our throats when we're in primary school. And it really causes us to develop this mindset of, oh, we get more rewarded when we're good and when we're good at and when we pursue these STEM fields, and then the creative fields and the more arts type of fields more discouraged. And if you're somebody who's inherently a people pleaser like I am, it really pushes you away from allowing yourself to explore those creative pursuits and explore those creative fields, because you're deriving your self-esteem and your self-worth off of the applause you're getting from pursuing something in STEM. As a result, I'm in this very technical role now as a tax accountant, and I don't get to exercise my creative brain very often. And obviously YouTube is like my creative outlet, my podcast is my creative outlet. But since that's something that I've turned into a job, I just want to take the time to really dive into those creative pursuits and those hobbies more, and just embrace the creativity and really rid myself of that icky feeling I get when I allow myself to freely express my creative side and freely explore it. It's a side of me that I neglected for so long because I felt like it wouldn't get me the recognition that I was really wanting and striving for, because that's what I got my self-esteem from. And the next thing is to challenge myself financially. I find that if I don't set up some sort of challenge for myself, that I tend to just sort of be lazy with my finances, in terms of just like, I probably could be saving a little bit more, or maybe I could be saving in a better way. But I feel like if I challenge myself to like actually check something off and do something with my finances, I'm a lot better at actually following through with it. I really want to challenge myself to like a no spend month this year. And I know that that's not 100% possible, because there's always like a birthday or a graduation, I feel like, and you have to get gifts, things come up, emergencies happen, but the goal is to do as many, you know, no spend days as you can in a month. And I want to challenge myself to that this year because I feel like it's a good time to do it since I'm trying to save a lot for our wedding. And this could even look like just creating a budget and sticking to it, or just challenging yourself to save a little extra every few months. There's a lot of different ways you can challenge yourself financially. Maybe it's finally setting up that high yield savings account. Maybe it's finally setting up that investment account, or setting up automatic withdrawals to a savings account. Whatever it may be, just challenge yourself and get out of your comfort zone a little bit when it comes to your finances. Next is prioritizing my style over trends. So I know that this one probably sounds a little materialistic and not something that you think you would hear in a lifestyle changes video, but the transition from college to post-grad is so weird because you go from college and like the going out scene of wearing like kind of skimpy, just trendy clothing, to being in the workforce and having like a very conservative style of dressing and just looking like super adult all of a sudden. And it feels really weird because you're just like, who am I? And I feel like when you're in college, especially if you're in a college town, which I was because I went to Alabama, you just sort of accidentally end up conforming to whatever is trending and what all the people around you are wearing. I have so many clothes that I got in college and I look at them and I'm like, why did I ever wear that? That doesn't even like look like me or feel like me. And when I put it on now, I'm like, who am I? What am I doing? When I was in college, I was like, this is what people around me are wearing, so sure, I'll wear this. Whereas now I'm in this huge city with so much diversity, and it's a beautiful thing, and everybody is really expressive of their styles in Houston, in my opinion. And it's so cool because it kind of challenges yourself to, you know, sit back and think, you know, what's my personal style? What do I like to wear? What do I feel good in? And I really want to explore and really dive into dressing for my body shape and my body type so that I am, you know, feeling as good as I possibly can in my clothes. And part of doing this is going through my closet now and getting rid of those things that just do not feel like me, or things that I have not worn in the last year. And I really just want to focus on finding that personal style of my own, because I feel like I have this weird blend of like a kind of streetwear vibe, but then I have like the side of me that really likes the like dainty florals in the summer and like the beachy clothing. So it's just really confusing because those are very opposite things. But that may just be my personal style, and that's fine. One of the ways I really like to do this is by renting my clothing instead of buying, especially when it comes to trying out something that may be trending a little bit, or when I have a specific event. In the summer, I started using Nuuly to rent, which I'll have a referral code down below that'll get you $10 off and give me $10 off if you try out Nuuly, and I highly recommend doing it. It's seriously so incredible. You get to rent 6 things for a month, and if you really like an item, you get a discount when you buy it, or if you decide to buy it. I've never bought anything. There's been things that I've almost bought, but I just haven't. This helped me cut back on my impulsive spending with clothing so much this year. It was actually crazy to like reflect and think about. So if I had a wedding to go to, I would make sure I got like a wedding dress, or for the months that I was going in office a lot, I would get like workwear sweaters or workwear blouses. And I don't do it every month. It's extremely easy to pause it. Like a lot of things are really hard to cancel or pause, but if you want to pause it, it's so easy, and unpausing is just as easy. So I don't do it every single month. I've always found myself impulse spending on those more trendy items, especially when I have those out of routine events and plans. Like if I'm going on like a trip or a vacation, I'm like, okay, I want to go shopping for this vacation. Like what's trending right now? What would look really cute on this vacation? But instead of going online shopping, I just go on Nuuly and find things to rent. It's better for the environment. It saves you a lot of money in the long run if it keeps you from impulse spending on clothing like it did for me. And it's just really, really great. I really want to focus on creating my closet to be an embodiment of what I feel best in. So not holding on to things because they were once really trendy or they're really trendy right now, or holding on to something because I got it for an unspecified future event. Like, you know how when you look at a piece of clothing in your closet and you're like, man, I still has the tags on it and I got it a year and a half ago, but this will be so good if I go on this trip in the winter next year. Like it's not happening, so like don't hold on to it for that, you know what I mean? So I really want my closet to just be purposeful. I want to look at it and not feel stressed. I want to look at it and know that I feel good in each piece of clothing in there, and that I, you know, feel like it reflects my personal style and makes me feel good. And I don't want to look at my closet and feel stressed and feel like I have nothing to wear. And typically that's how I feel. And I feel like that literally just means that my closet is not a reflection of my actual personal style and what I feel good in. So the last thing is to stop playing it safe. So one of the things I learned in therapy this year is that I prioritize safety over quite literally anything else when it comes to my personal values. And safety is one of my core values, and I have a lot of other core values such as inner peace, self-acceptance, things like that. I learned that I put safety on a pedestal. I am so scared of being in rocky financial situations, and I tend to make very safe decisions when it comes to like my career and my job and what I do. And I've noticed that being safe with those decisions has sort of bled into other areas of my life where I tend to play it really safe in other areas as well, and just do the comfortable and easy thing, and instead of not doing the hard thing that would probably reap more benefits from taking more risk, I end up just being more comfortable and playing it safe. And I saw this really good TikTok yesterday from Flynn Skidmore, and hate TikTok, but you gotta love it sometimes because there are some very insightful people with some great little nuggets of wisdom on that freaking app. And he basically talked about how playing your life small and safe is all about managing other people's emotions and managing people's perception of you, and that's basically how I've lived my entire life. I'll leave the TikTok linked, but he basically just says that we tend to do that because we believe it's our safest survival strategy. So obviously makes sense since I'm someone that's always prioritized safety. And he goes on to say that the other side of this is being expansive, and uses a metaphor of a flower blooming, and says when the flower perceives itself to be an environment where it's safe to bloom, it just blooms and doesn't even have to think twice about it. But then when a flower believes it's in an environment that it's not safe to bloom in, on the other hand, so basically a lack mindset and thinking you don't have the resources you need or being aware of threats, the flower's response is to stay closed up. And he basically says that that's what playing it safe and playing small is like. And hearing that metaphor really just opened my eyes to how badly and how persistently I play things small and safe in my life. Whereas if I adopted more of an expansive mindset and sort of tried to work on this whole lack mindset that I have that keeps me playing it safe, I could probably experience a lot more fruitful things and experience many more blessings, because I think I hold myself back a lot by playing it safe. And he says you avoid blooming because there is a part of you that believes it's not safe and you're not able to bloom. So that really keeps you from blooming. And it's really just an incredible metaphor. And he really emphasizes the importance of focusing your energy on what areas of your life and in your lifestyle does it make sense for you to bloom, and then what areas of your life. He talks about really being aware of your body and the patterns in your life and the feelings that you tend to feel when you're playing it safe. More tension and more contraction and density are the things that you tend to feel when you're playing it safe. So I want to pay more mind to that in 2023 and really just pull myself out of this lack mindset and stop playing it safe so much and allow myself to bloom and take risks and take chances and say yes to more things and put myself in environments where I can be a flower that just blooms and doesn't have to try hard or think about doing it, instead of succumbing myself to these situations and these patterns in my life where I feel threats and I feel like I can't bloom. And those are all of the 10 lifestyle changes that I'm making in 2023. There's a few things that are external, but a lot of it is internal because your girl has been on a healing journey in 2022 and she wants to continue it going into 2023. And part of that healing journey is aligning with my most authentic self and accepting myself. So I really kept that in mind with choosing my 10 lifestyle changes that I'm wanting to make in 2023. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope it was helpful for those of you who are really just looking for inspiration for the new year. And I hope you all have a happy and safe new year, and thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Check out my podcast down below and follow me on all my social media links down below. And I will see you all in my next video.